She walks in draped in diamonds and arrogance, convinced her father's billions make her untouchable. Then she does it, looks Judge Judy dead in the eye and sneers, "Sorry, I don't speak poor." The courtroom freezes. Judge Judy doesn't yell or rage. She simply smiles and says something that will haunt this heiress forever. In the next 60 seconds, every lie crumbles, every privilege evaporates, and this billionaire's daughter watches her entire world collapse on live television. What the judge reveals about her character is so devastating that even her own lawyer gasps. By the end, she's lost everything, but what Judge Judy exposes about her is something no amount of money can ever erase. But before we get into it, tell me, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments and hit subscribe for more shocking courtroom moments. The doors swing open before anyone is ready. Diamonds hit the light first, then the smirk behind them. Every head turns, as if wealth itself has walked into the room. She does not enter the courtroom. She arrives like she expects applause for simply existing. The camera would follow her in a slow pan, high heels striking the floor with deliberate rhythm, bracelets chiming like tiny declarations of superiority. Her coat alone is worth more than most cars in the parking lot. She knows it, and she wants everyone else to know it too. The bailiff glances at Judge Judy, but the judge does not look up yet. She is writing something, calm and methodical, the way a surgeon prepares before the first incision. Only the audience reacts, a quiet wave of murmurs, the kind that vibrates across the benches like a low electrical hum. The heiress pauses at the center of the room, letting the moment stretch. Her diamonds glitter under the harsh fluorescent lights, but her arrogance shines brighter. She slides her sunglasses into her hair, revealing eyes sharpened by entitlement and years of getting her way. Her expression is not nervous or respectful. It is bored, mildly inconvenienced, as if the courtroom is a boutique she regrets walking into. Across the aisle, the plaintiff watches her with a mix of dread and recognition, the look of someone who has survived this arrogance once and is being forced to relive it under public lighting. She clutches a stack of papers against her chest, not as evidence, but as a shield. The heiress flicks her gaze toward her, offering a smile so thin it feels like a paper cut. "Do not wrinkle," her expression seems to say. "You are in the presence of money." She chooses her seat with exaggerated slowness. The camera would cut to her fingers, perfectly manicured, sinking into the leather as though testing whether it is worthy of her. Then to her phone, screen lighting up with a message from someone cheering her on. Her lips curl, pleased. She truly believes this is all a game. Judge Judy finally lifts her eyes. The shift is small but seismic. The room's energy reorganizes itself around Judy's stare, a quiet, formidable force that strips away performance and demands truth. Her gaze travels up the heiress's jewelry, the expensive coat, the lifted chin. It is not admiration, it is assessment. The heiress notices. She straightens her spine, as if preparing for a photo shoot rather than a hearing. Judy does not speak. Not yet, but the silence she creates is a verdict in itself. The plaintiff looks down, gathering courage. The bailiff takes one subtle step forward, and the heiress smiles, convinced she has already won something she has not even been asked to defend. Her first smirk lands, bright, careless, and loud in its meaning, and that's when Judge Judy finally says her name, not warmly, not gently, but with the precision of someone about to peel back every layer she hides behind. Her voice cuts through the courtroom before respect has a chance to settle. Sharp, careless, entitled enough to echo. It is the kind of tone that makes even the cameras hesitate. Judge Judy begins with a simple question, her usual way of opening the truth like a book. "State your name for the record." The heiress exhales dramatically, as though this basic requirement is an insult to her status. She leans back, crossing her legs with a crisp snap of fabric, and says her name with theatrical precision, savoring each syllable like she expects someone to applaud its worth. Her voice drips with diamonds. Judy nods, unbothered. She asks the next question, equally straightforward. "And your relationship to the plaintiff?" The heiress lifts her chin. "Temporary service provider," she says, waving a hand as if brushing away dust. She did some little errands, nothing major. The plaintiff flinches slightly. It is not the words, it is the dismissal behind them, the way the heiress intentionally shrinks the woman's entire contribution down to a little errand. Judy tilts her head. Is that how you described her job when you hired her? The heiress smiles, a polished, performative smile. I do not keep track of every insignificant detail. People like her come and go. A ripple moves through the audience, not loud, just a shift, the sound of an entire room realizing exactly what kind of person they are dealing with, but the heiress does not notice. She is busy adjusting her bracelet, making sure the light catches the stones. She speaks again before Judy can respond, eager to dominate the space. Honestly, Your Honor, I do not even know why we are here. This whole thing is ridiculous. She should be grateful I even gave her work. Judy's pen stops moving. That tiny pause, the stillness of authority, slices deeper than any shouted reprimand. The heiress interprets it as victory, unaware that silence is the judge's sharpest blade. The plaintiff's hands tremble. She tries to remain composed, but her breathing stutters, barely audible over the hum of fluorescent lights. The camera might catch the truth in her posture, a woman trying to stand tall against someone who has spent a lifetime stepping on others. Judy breaks the silence, breaks the, "Let me be clear," she says, each word precise. "Everyone who works deserves respect, and everyone who is hired deserves payment." The heiress scoffs, then mutters just loud enough for microphones to pick up, "That depends on how poor they are." A collective inhale sweeps across the room. Judy slowly sets her pen down. No anger, no raised voice, just a controlled shift in posture, the kind that signals a storm without a cloud in sight. "Miss," Judy says quietly, "would you like to clarify that remark?" The heiress smirks, thinking she is untouchable. Judy opens the file with deliberate calmness. For the first time, the heiress's eyes flick toward the paperwork, and something in her confidence wavers. The first crack has finally appeared. The room shifts when she finally lifts her eyes. Not loudly, not suddenly, just enough for everyone to feel the truth pressing forward. For most of the hearing so far, the plaintiff has remained still, a quiet presence overshadowed by diamonds and noise. She sits with her papers tucked tightly against her chest, fingers digging into the edges as if anchoring herself. Her silence has not been weakness, it has been survival. But Judge Judy turns to her now, her tone softened just enough to make space. "Ma'am," she says, "you may speak." A breath leaves the plaintiff, shaky but determined. She stands slowly, the effort visible in her posture. The camera would move in a gentle close-up, not dramatic, just honest, showing a woman who is tired of being talked over, minimized, erased. "When I worked for her," she begins, voice trembling like a thin line pulled too tight, "I did everything she asked. I met every deadline. I stayed late. I came early. And she—" Her throat closes for a moment. She swallows hard. "She laughed at me." The plaintiff continues, words gaining weight with each syllable. "She told me people like me were replaceable, that I should be grateful for the crumbs she gives out." The heiress rolls her eyes so sharply it is practically an insult thrown across the aisle. "Please," she mutters. "She is exaggerating." "Do not speak," Judy snaps, not loudly, but with precision so sharp it freezes the air. The heiress actually stops mid-breath. The plaintiff nods once, encouraged. "When she refused to pay me," she says, "I asked her why. I asked politely, and she mocked me. In front of others. She told me I wasn't worth her time." Her hands tremble. A single sheet of paper slips from her stack, fluttering to the floor. The bailiff bends to retrieve it, but the paper is not the point. The moment is. The courtroom grows thick with attention, everyone caught in the gravitational pull of truth finally spoken. Judge Judy's expression is unreadable, but her eyes sharpen with every detail. "What did she say exactly?" Judy asks. The plaintiff hesitates, voice shrinking to a whisper. "She said, 'Money doesn't talk to people like you.'" Several audience members gasp quietly. The heiress smirks again, as if proud of the cruelty. Judy's jaw tightens, barely, but enough for the cameras to catch it. Did you ever receive the payment you were owed? No, Your Honor. And did she ever give you a reason? Yes. The plaintiff's voice steadies with a sudden, surprising strength. She told me it was fun watching me beg. A ripple of disgust moves through the room. The heiress flips her hair, muttering, "That never—" Judy's hand lifts in the air, a silent command for her to stop. The plaintiff meets Judy's eyes. For the first time, she looks unafraid. Judy leans forward, her voice low and surgical. "Miss," she says to the heiress, "are you sure you want to continue down this path? Because the next word spoken may destroy the lie she has built her life upon." She laughs, a bright metallic sound that does not match the tension in the room. And just like that, the atmosphere shifts from arrogance to something far more dangerous. The plaintiff's truth still lingers in the air when the heiress tilts her head back and releases a laugh so sharp it feels like broken glass hitting tile. It is not nervous. It is not embarrassed. It is triumphant, as if cruelty is a joke she believes everyone should appreciate. Judge Judy does not move. The courtroom, however, flinches. Someone in the back whispers, "Oh no," because they have seen enough of Judy's cases to recognize that particular kind of laughter, the kind that signals someone who thinks they have already escaped consequence. The heiress wipes an imaginary tear from the corner of her eye. "Your Honor, please," she says, her voice syrupy with disdain. "Are we really taking her little sob story seriously? This is why people like me do not hire people like her. Too emotional, too dramatic." Judy's eyelids lower half an inch. Not a blink, a warning. But the heiress keeps going, energized by her own dismissiveness. "Honestly," she continues, "this entire thing is beneath me. You know how many people try to extort families like mine? She is just another one. Look at her, look at me. Does any part of this seem equal?" The plaintiff shrinks into herself, but Judy leans slightly forward, the light catching the edge of her glasses like a blade. "Miss," Judy says, voice low, "you are not helping yourself." "Oh, come on," the heiress says. "I am being honest. I am sorry if the truth stings for some people. I speak my mind. That is not a crime." "No," Judy replies, "but lying is." The heiress's smile freezes. Judy flips a page in the file. Slow, deliberate, as if turning the first page of a verdict she has not yet spoken aloud. The papers rustle like restless whispers bouncing off the courtroom walls. "Miss," Judy says, eyes never leaving the page, "you submitted this receipt as evidence of payment, correct?" The heiress nods eagerly. "Obviously. That is the part where I already proved I paid her. Can we move on?" Judy lifts the receipt with 2 fingers. "This one?" A flicker, tiny but unmistakable, crosses the heiress's face. Something about Judy's tone, the stillness in her posture, unsettles her confidence for the first time. "Yes," she says. "That one." Judy adjusts her glasses, letting the silence thicken like storm clouds gathering behind glass. "This receipt," Judy says calmly, "is forged." The heiress's lawyer drops his pen. The plaintiff gasps. A murmur bolts through the audience like a spark through dry grass. The heiress sits perfectly still, the smile still plastered on her face, only now it looks less like arrogance and more like a mask cracking at the edges. Judy lifts the forged receipt higher, letting the cameras catch every detail. "Miss," she says softly, "would you like to explain why your evidence was fabricated?" And the heiress's world begins to tilt. For the first time, her silence is not strategy. It is fear. The diamonds still shine, but the confidence behind them flickers. And Judge Judy has not even begun. The forged receipt hangs in the air like a suspended sentence. The courtroom feels colder now, as if the air itself recoils from dishonesty. The heiress's smile remains frozen, but her eyes, those carefully trained symbols of superiority, begin to dart, searching for a foothold that arrogance no longer provides. Her lawyer leans toward her. His whisper is harsh, sharp, desperate. "Why didn't you tell me about this?" She whispers back without moving her lips. "Because it did not matter. I thought—" "It matters now," he hisses. Judge Judy's gaze slices through their quiet exchange. "Counselor," she says, "you will have your turn. Right now, I am speaking to your client." The heiress straightens, pulling her shoulders back in an attempt to resurrect the confidence that is rapidly disintegrating, but panic betrays her. A small tremble in her breath, a twitch in her left hand, a flicker beneath her practiced composure. "Miss," Judy says, tone controlled but undeniably steel, "this receipt lists a date you were not even in the country. Would you like to explain that contradiction?" The heiress blinks. Too many times. Too quickly. I must have mixed it up. Maybe the system printed the wrong date. Technology glitches all the time." Judy lifts one eyebrow, unimpressed. "The system? Or you?" An echo of tension runs across the room. Someone coughs. Someone else whispers, "She's done." The heiress latches onto deflection. "I hired a team to handle payments. I should not be blamed for their mistakes." "That is interesting," Judy replies, flipping another page. "Because the signature on this forged receipt, it matches documents that you signed personally." The color drains from the heiress's face in a slow, humiliating fade. Diamonds do not glow as brightly when panic dulls the skin beneath them. Her lawyer tries again. "Your Honor, if I may—" "No," Judy says without looking at him. "Your client submitted falsified evidence. She will answer my questions." The heiress's breathing becomes uneven, the first clear sign that the facade she wore like armor is slipping. She leans forward, voice cracking around the edges. "Okay, fine. Maybe the receipt was corrected, maybe it needed updating. I do not remember every detail." Her voice climbs in pitch but not volume, frantic and whispering, like desperation trying to stay dignified. Judy nods, slowly. "You do not remember forging a receipt?" "I did not forge anything." It comes out too fast, too sharp, too rehearsed. The plaintiff watches quietly, her fingers wrapped around her papers like a lifeline. She is no longer afraid, just waiting for the truth to finish its slow, inevitable rise to the surface. Judy closes the file with a soft, final thud, a sound that feels like a verdict. The heiress opens her mouth to defend herself, but her voice cracks before the words can form, and Judy, eyes narrowing, whispers, "We are not done yet." She rises before anyone expects her to. No anger, no theatrics, just a quiet determination that feels heavier than any shout. The plaintiff stands, and her chair gives a soft scrape across the floor, the kind of sound that carries in a room holding its breath. She presses her papers to her chest, not to protect herself from the heiress this time, but to steady the truth that is about to break through. The heiress watches her with widening eyes, as if this shift in power is somehow an insult to her birthright. Her diamond necklace glints under the fluorescent lights, but the shimmer does nothing to hide the unease settling across her face. Judge Judy nods gently toward the plaintiff. "Go ahead." The plaintiff's voice is soft at first, but clear. "Your Honor, I stayed silent because I thought I had to. Because people like her." She gestures lightly toward the heiress, who immediately straightens, offended by the mere implication of equality. "Make you believe you do not have a voice." Her hands tremble, but her words do not. "When she refused to pay me, I told myself to let it go. I told myself she was powerful, and I was nothing." A ripple of emotion runs through the audience, the kind of quiet human recognition that needs no translation. The heiress scoffs, arms crossing defensively. "Oh, please, if you were nothing, you would not be here trying so hard to get attention." Judy cuts the air with a single raised finger. "Enough." The plaintiff flinches only slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of everything she has spent months holding inside. "She humiliated me," the plaintiff continues. "Not just in private, in public, in front of people who laughed because they did not want to be her next target." Her voice breaks on the last word. She pauses, collecting herself. The courtroom feels smaller now, as if everyone has stepped closer without moving. And the worst part? Her eyes lift, meeting Judy's. "I believed her. I believed I was worth less. I believed I should be grateful for scraps." For the first time, the heiress looks genuinely rattled, not because she feels guilt, but because the plaintiff's truth is unraveling the story she built around herself. Judge Judy watches her carefully, the faintest trace of empathy softening the line of her jaw. "No one," she says slowly. should feel grateful for being mistreated. The plaintiff nods, wiping a single tear with the back of her sleeve. Then she reaches into her bag. A shift, subtle but seismic, moves through the courtroom. Even the bailiff leans forward an inch. "I did not want to use this," she says quietly, "but she left me no choice." The heiress stiffens. "What is that? What are you doing?" The plaintiff holds up a small device, a simple, worn audio recorder. Its presence changes the air. Her voice steadies. "It is proof. Proof of everything I said." The heiress's face drains of color. Judge Judy nods slowly, signaling for the recording to be played. And for the first time, fear replaces arrogance. If you were sitting in that courtroom, what would you do? Stay silent or speak up? The audio crackles before the first word even plays. A grainy hiss fills the courtroom, soft but ominous. Everyone leans in because truth has a sound, and it is about to speak. Judge Judy gives a single nod, and the plaintiff presses play. The speakers hum. A second of silence stretches into tension so thick it feels like the room itself is bracing. Then the heiress's voice, unmistakably hers, bursts into the air. "Why would I pay you? You're lucky I even let you in my house." Her tone on the recording is sharper than diamonds, dripping with mean amusement. The courtroom reacts instantly. A ripple of shock, a few uncomfortable gasps, a tightening of every pair of shoulders in the room. The heiress closes her eyes, jaw clenched so hard the muscles twitch. On the recording she laughs, a cruel, careless snort. "You people never get it. Money talks. Poor people beg." The audience inhales collectively, like a single organism struck in the chest. Judge Judy turns her head slightly, watching the heiress with the calm precision of someone observing a structure collapse exactly the way she knew it would. The recorded voice continues, "If you need money that badly, maybe try being useful next time. I don't pay incompetence." The plaintiff flinches at the memory. Even though it is only audio, the cruelty feels present, raw, fresh, real. The heiress snaps, "That is not me. That is edited. You cannot trust—" "Miss," Judy interrupts, "if you say one more word before I ask you to, you will regret it." Silence falls instantly. The recording is not finished. The next lines land heavier than the first. "I do not speak poor. I do not negotiate with people beneath me." A cold shiver moves through the courtroom. The statement echoes, settling into the quiet like a confession carved into stone. The plaintiff stops the audio. No one moves. The heiress's breathing is uneven. For the first time, she does not look angry or superior. She looks cornered. Her designer composure is slipping grain by grain, becoming something gritty and frightened beneath the glitter. Her lawyer covers his face with one hand, defeated. Judge Judy finally speaks. "Miss, is that your voice?" The heiress's lips part. No sound emerges at first, only a tremble. The answer should be simple, but the truth is a wall she cannot climb. I do not." She swallows, the panic visible now. "It sounds like me, but—" "It is you," Judy cuts in, voice firm but quiet. "Your tone, your cadence, your cruelty." The plaintiff closes her eyes, steadying her breath. Justice has its own oxygen. Judge Judy shifts the file closer, her gaze sharpening. "Miss," she says, "the recording establishes more than disrespect. It establishes intent, and I have one question left." The heiress's shoulders tense, bracing for impact. Judy leans forward, voice low enough to chill the air. "Does your father know you speak to people this way?" The heiress's eyes widen, and the unraveling begins. Her composure cracks before anyone touches her. One breath too fast, one blink too long, and the audience senses it. Arrogance has finally met something stronger. Consequence. The question, "Does your father know?" hits the heiress like a blow she never saw coming. For a full second, she is still, every muscle locked in place. Then the unraveling begins. "I do not need my father to defend me," she snaps, voice rising too quickly to sound confident. "I am capable of handling this ridiculous circus myself." But she is not handling it. Not anymore. Her breaths come uneven, pushing her words out in frantic bursts. Everyone in here is against me. This court, this woman, she gestures wildly toward the plaintiff. This entire setup is designed to humiliate me. Judge Judy sits perfectly still, letting the storm burn itself out. She has seen this before. Not this woman, not this wealth, but this spin, the frantic flailing of someone realizing their power is an illusion they can no longer sell. The heiress continues, hands shaking as she points at the audience. Do you all enjoy this, watching me get attacked? None of you understand what it is like to have real responsibility, real expectations. I have a reputation to protect. Her lawyer whispers urgently, "Stop talking, please stop talking." But she jerks away from him, diamonds flashing under the lights. No, I will not sit here and be treated like some common person. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Even the bailiff raises his eyebrows, subtle but telling. Judge Judy's voice cuts through the air like a clean edge. Common person? The heiress freezes. Again, Judy folds her hands, expression calm but eyes sharpened with surgical clarity. Miss, you are not being treated like anything common. You are being treated like someone accountable. That is what you are struggling with. The heiress's glare falters. Panic flickers beneath it, not a collapse yet, but the beginning. No, she whispers. No, this is wrong. My father would never, he would never allow. Judy interrupts, her tone smooth as steel. Allow what? Consequences? The room goes silent. Even her lawyer cannot meet her eyes. The heiress stumbles backward a half step, as if the floor has shifted. For the first time, she looks small in her designer clothes, swallowed by a space she cannot manipulate. Judy reaches for a sealed envelope at the edge of her bench, the one the heiress has not seen until now. I received something before this hearing began, Judy says, gently tapping the envelope against the desk. A statement from someone very familiar with your pattern of behavior. The heiress's breath hitches, her posture collapses inward. Who sent that? She asks, voice barely a whisper. Judy opens the envelope with deliberate calm, unfolding the pages inside. It is from your father, Judy says, eyes lifting. And he has a very different version of who you are. The heiress's world doesn't just tilt this time. It drops. She stands frozen as Judy lifts the first page. Diamonds cannot shield her now. The truth is about to come from the one person she thought would always save her. The courtroom stills in a way that feels almost sacred, a heavy, expectant silence that forms whenever a life is about to change direction. Judge Judy smooths the paper in her hands, her fingers tracing the edges as though preparing the room for a truth it cannot unhear. This, Judy begins, is a statement from your father. It arrived this morning. The heiress's breath catches sharply. Everyone hears it. Judy reads, My daughter has been given every opportunity in life, and every warning. A faint tremor crosses the heiress's face, an involuntary crack, the first true fracture in her defensive wall. The letter continues, Despite our wealth, our name and our resources, she has repeatedly chosen arrogance over kindness, entitlement over responsibility, and deception over honesty. The heiress blinks rapidly, her eyes reddening, though she tries to conceal it behind a stiffened jaw. We have covered for her errors in the past, believing she would learn. She has not. Her lawyer slowly lowers his gaze. The plaintiff clutches her hands together, not triumphant, just witnessing something painfully human. Judy glances up briefly, gauging the heiress's reaction, but the heiress looks lost, as though someone has pulled the floor out from under her. The judge continues. She does not represent our values, she does not speak for us, and she will not receive our protection in this matter. A hush falls so complete that even the hum of the courtroom lights seems to quiet itself. The heiress shakes her head slowly. No, he would not. He would never write that. But her voice lacks conviction. It is soft, brittle around the edges, like something expensive cracking under pressure. Judy reads the final lines. If this behavior continues, she will be solely responsible for the consequences. We will not intervene. The world must see her for who she truly is. The heiress swallows hard. Her throat moves visibly, as though she is trying not to break. But break she does, in tiny collapsing pieces. She whispers again, quieter now. He wrote that. About me? Judy folds the letter gently, the way one might close the last page of a tragedy that did not have to happen. Miss, she says, her tone softened but firm, your father knows exactly who you are. The question is, do you? The heiress stares ahead, blinking through the sting of humiliation, betrayal, and dawning self-awareness. The room watches her, not with cruelty, but with quiet, human shock. This is not the downfall of arrogance. This is the unraveling of identity. Judy reaches for a second page within the envelope. And he did not stop there. The heiress's knees weaken, because this time even hope cannot protect her. Do you think remorse should ever erase guilt? Or does justice demand accountability no matter what? She reaches for her confidence the way someone reaches for a railing in the dark. But there is nothing there, only the echo of her father's words, and the sound of her world shrinking. Judge Judy sets the second page down, and the faint rustle seems to strike the heiress harder than the letter itself. Her posture, once rigid with entitlement, softens into something fragile, trembling at the edges. She tries to sit taller, tries to reclaim the aura she walked in with, but glitter cannot glue a cracked identity back together. Your Honor, she stammers. My father. He must have been misled. He does not understand the full picture. You cannot just... Judy raises a hand, calm and steady. Miss, your father's understanding is not on trial. Your behavior is. The heiress opens her mouth, shuts it, opens it again. Words scatter inside her, but none form properly. The performance that once came so easily now falters, as if her mind cannot find a version of reality where she is still winning. Her lawyer leans in, whispering urgently, do not contradict the letter. Acknowledge it. Take responsibility. But she recoils, as if the very idea burns her. Take responsibility? For what? For someone twisting my actions? For people misinterpreting my... Miss, Judy interjects, 3 separate individuals have documented the same behavior. They cannot all be wrong. The courtroom grows still, a quiet, heavy stillness, the kind that replaces tension with consequence. The heiress swallows. Her chin quivers before she clamps her jaw, trying to mask the collapse with defiance. That assistant, she had it out for me, she blurts. She was jealous. They all are. People envy success. They project their insecurities onto me, and suddenly I am the villain? Judy leans forward, eyes narrowing with the precision of someone who sees directly through the excuse. Is that why you forged a receipt? To escape being misunderstood? The heiress flinches, color draining from her cheeks. She turns her head away, diamonds catching the light in small, trembling glints. Her voice shrinks. I did not forge anything. I just wanted this to go away. And it would have, Judy replies, had you told the truth. The words land with the weight of a gavel before it ever strikes. The plaintiff watches quietly, sympathy flickering through her expression. Not forgiveness yet, but recognition. Collapse, after all, is a painful thing to witness, even when deserved. The heiress presses her fingers into the arms of her chair, knuckles whitening. I am not a bad person, she whispers. I cannot be seen failing. Not in front of him, not in front of anyone. It is the most honest thing she has said all day. Judy softens, but only slightly. Miss, failure is not the issue. Cruelty is. The heiress releases a trembling breath, a breath that sounds like surrender, bleeding through fear. Judy lifts a new document from the bench, sliding it forward with deliberate care. This, she says, may help you understand the consequences you've avoided for far too long. The heiress stiffens, because she knows whatever comes next will break her far more deeply than the letter did. The new file lands on the desk with a gentleness that feels cruel. The heiress barely breathes. Some truths don't shout, they whisper, and the whisper is worse. Judge Judy opens the document slowly, the pages sliding apart with a faint scrape, a sound too soft for the devastation it carries. The heiress watches with wide, glassy eyes, her shoulders curving inward as if bracing for a blow she knows she cannot dodge. "This," Judy begins, "is a complaint submitted by someone who worked for you in the past." The heiress's breath catches. "Who? That's ridiculous. I've never—" Judy raises a hand, and the silence that follows is surgical. The complaint describes verbal harassment, withholding wages, manipulating schedules, and intentionally humiliating staff in front of guests. The heiress shakes her head rapidly, panic flashing like a strobe behind her eyes. "No, no, this is someone lying, someone angry. I did nothing wrong. They're exaggerating. People twist things." Judy flips the page. "The behavior documented here matches the conduct we've heard today." The heiress's pulse thunders in her throat. Her hands find each other in her lap, fingers twisting desperately as though they can hold together what is coming apart. "And," Judy continues, eyes narrowing slightly, "the person who filed this complaint wrote that they were afraid to come forward publicly, afraid of retaliation, afraid of your family's influence." The heiress's face drains of color. "Who?" she whispers. "Who said that?" "Someone who worked closely with you," Judy replies. "Someone who witnessed your treatment of others." The plaintiff looks down, emotions conflicted. She has no desire to watch another woman break, but justice rarely waits for comfort. Judy lifts the final page. The courtroom tightens around the moment. "The individual who submitted this complaint," she says, "is your former personal assistant." The heiress frowns, confused. "But I had several assistants. You'll have to be more specific." Judy's voice softens, not kindly, but with the weight of truth carried carefully. "She is also your cousin." The heiress chokes on a breath, the sound sharp and small. "My cousin?" Her voice cracks, disbelief splintering through it. "No. No, she wouldn't say those things. She loves me." Judy doesn't look away. "She loved you enough to hope you would change, and feared you enough to know you wouldn't." The words hit harder than the letter from her father, harder than the forged receipt, harder than the recording. This is not a stranger calling her cruel. This is someone who grew up beside her, someone who saw the person behind the diamonds. The heiress presses a trembling hand to her mouth as tears gather, not soft, graceful tears, but the kind that sting with recognition. She wrote that about me?" Her voice is barely audible. "I didn't know she felt that way. I didn't know I hurt her." Judy closes the file with solemn precision. "Miss, you hurt far more people than you ever allowed yourself to see." The silence that follows is absolute. The heiress's gaze drops to the floor, tears blurring the diamonds on her wrists. For the first time, she is not defending herself. She is grieving who she has become. And Judge Judy isn't finished. Silence hits her harder than any accusation, not the silence of judgment, the silence of truth. It wraps around her like a mirror she cannot escape. For the first time since she strutted into the courtroom, the heiress does not speak, does not gesture, does not perform. She simply sits there, shaking, the space around her closing in. The armored glitter of her jewelry looks strangely out of place now, ornaments on someone who no longer remembers how to hold herself tall. Judge Judy watches her quietly, not triumphant, not cruel, just present. "Miss," Judy finally says, her voice low, "you may take a moment." But the heiress doesn't respond. Her gaze has dropped to her own hands where she twists her bracelets with trembling fingers. For years, she has relied on silence from others, silence she demanded, silence she rewarded, silence she weaponized. But this silence, this one belongs to her, and it terrifies her. The plaintiff shifts gently in her seat, her expression softening. She is not gloating, she is witnessing. The kind of witnessing that carries the memory of every moment she felt small next to the woman now crumbling before her. The heiress finally exhales. The breath shudders out of her chest, fragile and uneven. I didn't know," she whispers. "I didn't know she hated me. I didn't know anyone saw me that way." Judy folds her hands. They didn't hate you. They feared what you would do if they told you the truth. The words land gently, but the impact is brutal. The heiress presses the heel of her palm against her forehead, forcing back tears she can no longer control. I thought I was strong. I thought being tough meant never showing weakness. Tough, Judy replies, isn't the same as cruel. The courtroom remains still, not frozen but breathing slowly, as if absorbing the shift taking place. The heiress wipes her eyes, smearing the immaculate makeup she worked so hard to perfect. The smudge across her cheek feels symbolic, the first honest mark she's worn in years. Her voice cracks again. I didn't mean to hurt her. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I didn't want to be laughed at, or ignored, or… She can't finish. The sentence collapses into a small, broken sound. Judy lets the silence stretch. Not punishment, reflection. Miss, she says at last, intention does not erase impact. You may not have meant harm, but you caused it. Many times. A tear slides down the heiress's cheek, catching a glint from the courtroom lights, a glimmer that, ironically, outshines her diamonds. The plaintiff watches her, eyes deep with empathy she never asked for but cannot deny she feels. For the first time, the heiress looks up, not with defiance, but with the hesitant vulnerability of someone seeing the world without the filter of entitlement for the very first time. What happens now? She whispers. Judy straightens the papers before her, the movement precise and final. We're not finished with consequences, she says quietly, and the heiress's breath falters, because she knows this silence is only the beginning. Judge Judy's tone shifts, not louder, not harsher, just heavier, like justice itself has stepped into the room beside her. The heiress wipes her eyes with the back of her trembling hand, smearing what remains of her carefully sculpted image. The vulnerability of Section 12 still clings to her like a second skin, raw and unfamiliar. She tries to straighten her posture, but the effort collapses halfway through, her shoulders sagging under the weight of something she can no longer outrun. Judy organizes the papers before her, aligning the edges with deliberate precision, a quiet ritual that signals the beginning of judgment. When she looks up, her gaze is steady, unshakable. Miss, she begins, today's hearing is no longer simply about unpaid wages. It is about a pattern of cruelty, dishonesty, and entitlement that has harmed more than one person. The heiress squeezes her eyes shut, as though wishing darkness might erase the unfolding reality. But the courtroom is mercilessly well lit, every shadow exposed. Judy continues, you forged a receipt. You attempted to manipulate the court. And you have spoken to this plaintiff, and others, with a level of disrespect that cannot be excused by upbringing, wealth, or insecurity. Each word lands like a stone placed carefully into the scale of accountability. Her lawyer sits rigid, hands folded tightly, silently pleading for his client to stay silent. But the heiress can't. Not now. I'm sorry, she whispers, voice barely audible. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry. Judy's expression does not soften. Apology without change is manipulation. Consequences are what create change. The heiress's face crumples, but she nods, small, shaky, accepting in the only way she knows how. Judy turns to the plaintiff. You will receive full payment for all work performed, plus additional compensation to reflect the emotional distress caused by the defendant's conduct. The plaintiff's breath catches, relief and disbelief flickering through her eyes. She nods respectfully, hands clasped in front of her, but Judy is not finished. Furthermore, she continues, this recording, she taps the device lightly, and the forged receipt will both be submitted to the network's legal department and the producers overseeing these proceedings. I will not allow this behavior to be hidden behind wealth ever again. The heiress stiffens, a startled gasp slipping through her control. No, please, not the producers. I can handle the money, but they'll ruin me. Miss, Judy replies, voice unflinching, you have ruined yourself. They will simply document it. A tremor runs through the heiress's body, her perfectly manicured nails digging into the arms of her chair. For the first time, the consequences feel real, not theoretical, not distant, but present and closing in. The plaintiff watches her quietly, not vindictive, but grounded in the justice finally unfolding. Judy sets down her pen. This court will not participate in enabling harmful behavior, not today, not ever. Judy turns to the plaintiff again, her tone softening only for her. Before I finalize this judgment, she says, is there anything you wish to say? And the heiress braces, because forgiveness may be more painful than blame. She stands without anger, without triumph. Just a quiet strength that shifts the room in a way even diamonds never could. The plaintiff rises slowly, her hands smoothing the fabric of her shirt in a gesture more grounding than nervous. The courtroom watches her with a collective breath held, not because she is about to accuse, but because she is about to choose. And in this story, choice carries more weight than evidence. The heiress lifts her eyes, tears clinging like fragile ornaments along her lashes. She looks smaller now, as if her designer clothes suddenly hang too heavy on a frame, unprepared for humility. Her breathing steadies in uneven bursts, bracing herself for an attack she thinks she deserves, but the plaintiff does not deliver one. Your Honor, she begins, voice clearer than it has been all day. I didn't come here for revenge. That alone steals the air from the defendant's lungs. I came here because I needed someone, anyone, to tell me I wasn't crazy, that what happened to me mattered, that I mattered. Her gaze drifts toward the heiress, lingering not with hate but with a kind of sadness. When she mocked me, when she refused to pay me, I kept thinking, if she sees me as nothing, maybe I really am nothing. A soft murmur passes through the audience, empathy, collective and genuine. But sitting here, the plaintiff continues, voice warming with fragile courage, I realized I never needed her to see my worth. I just needed to stop letting her define it. The heiress swallows hard, her lips trembling as the truth sinks deeper than any legal consequence. I don't want to destroy her, the plaintiff says. I don't want her punished beyond what she's already facing. I just wanted honesty. I wanted her to see that her words have weight. Her actions have weight. And they land on real people. Her voice breaks, not from pain, but from the release of finally being heard. I really hope she learned something from this, not for my sake, for hers, for the heiress's breath stutters, a small sob escaping before she can trap it behind pride. She covers her mouth quickly, as if ashamed of the vulnerability spilling out. For a fleeting moment, the courtroom feels suspended, a space where forgiveness and consequence coexist, overlapping like two hands pressed together in uneasy alignment. Judge Judy nods slowly, an expression of solemn respect crossing her features. You've spoken with more dignity today, she says to the plaintiff, than the defendant has shown in years. The plaintiff bows her head, not in victory, but in closure. The heiress wipes her face with trembling fingers, unable to speak, the plaintiff's compassion hitting her harder than any accusation. Judy lifts her gavel with deliberate slowness. Then let us finish what we began, she says. And the courtroom braces for the final blow of justice. Before you hear the verdict, ask yourself, can people truly change, or do they just get better at hiding who they are? The gavel hasn't fallen yet, but the room already feels changed. The heiress sits small beneath the weight of her own reflection, and Judge Judy's voice carries the final clarity this story has been waiting for. Judge Judy holds the gavel suspended for a moment, her expression calm but resolute. The look of someone who understands that justice isn't just about rules, but about restoring something human that arrogance tried to erase. She lowers the gavel but does not strike yet. Miss, she begins, eyes fixed on the heiress. Your behavior throughout this case has demonstrated a profound disregard for the dignity of others. Wealth does not excuse cruelty, upbringing does not excuse dishonesty, and insecurity does not excuse the harm you have inflicted. The heiress swallows hard, her mascara smudged into soft shadows beneath her eyes. She nods, barely but genuinely, as if fighting herself not to look away. This court, Judy continues, will issue full restitution to the plaintiff, plus punitive damages for emotional hardship. You will compensate her entirely for the work she performed and for the humiliation she endured. The plaintiff exhales, not triumphant, relieved, seen, valued. But Judy isn't done. In addition, she says, tapping the forged receipt, these documents will be forwarded to the network's producers and legal review board. Falsifying evidence is not an inconvenience, it is a serious breach, and I will not allow this courtroom to become a stage for deceit. The heiress's breath stutters. She clasps her hands together, a faint tremor moving through her fingers. Judy's tone softens, but only in the way truth softens, right before it cuts deeper. You have lived your entire life behind diamonds, protection, and excuses, but today is the first time you have faced a consequence that cannot be paid away or dismissed. A single tear trails down the heiress's cheek. She wipes it quickly, but the gesture fails to hide the vulnerability behind it. You are not beyond redemption, Judy continues. But redemption requires humility. And you cannot buy humility, miss. You must earn it. The words hang in the air, quiet but immovable. The heiress nods again, this time a little deeper. Her voice escapes her in a whisper she can't hold back. I understand. Judy turns to the plaintiff. You displayed remarkable dignity today. You asked for respect, not revenge. And that matters. The plaintiff bows her head, gratitude warming her exhausted expression. Finally, Judy lifts the gavel. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff, she declares. Judgment is granted in the full amount. The gavel slams. A sharp, echoing strike, final, decisive, the sound of truth taking its rightful place. The heiress closes her eyes, tears spilling freely now. For the first time, she is not crying from humiliation or anger. She is crying because the facade has fallen, and what remains is finally honest. As the courtroom begins to empty, Judy watches her, not with satisfaction, but with a quiet, heavy wisdom. Arrogance can shine, but it cannot stand. Diamonds glitter, truth endures. And in the end, money can shield everything except who you really are.